Sthapitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah Shri Chaitanya Manobhastam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayambhupa Kadamayam Dadati Swavedantikam Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadha Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhaktarinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Vanchikapatrubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhyeva Cha Paritanam Bhavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. So there's the story of Stalin got an ice pick in his head, didn't he? Was it Stalin? Or Trotsky? Trotsky. He was a Russian atheist, and as he was dying, he managed to climb up onto the desk. They put an ice pick into his head, and I think it was Trotsky. He managed to scramble around and find a piece of paper, and he wrote on the piece of paper, "I die as I lived, an irredeemable atheist." And then he expired. So a very miserable way to go, you know. It's like give God one last raspberry before I actually leave, you know, just to show that I don't change my mind even when I'm dying. But that doesn't necessarily indicate that the person's right. That if there was God and I died, then automatically I would see him if he was there. Because if you don't want to see God, then God he moves out of the picture and he leaves you to carry on your existence without him being there. He won't interfere with your independence if that's what you really want, even if you have an ice pick in your head. So Prabhupada's saying there are all these great politicians and social reformers. When they finally die, they die in great bereavement because the nature of the material world is there's always some other plan. Like when Narada Muni asked Salesh Joshi to go back to Godhead, and he said, "Can you hang on till the morning and I'll check with my wife. It shouldn't be a problem." And when he came back in the morning, he said, she just reminded me, we've got to get, actually it was their son, Salesh. They needed to get him married. And could you come back next year? And then when he came back next year, he says, well, actually, we did find a nice girl for Salesh, but his wife's pregnant and we just wanted to see the kid get born. Could you come back in a year or two? And then the kid's born. And Narada Muni comes again, he says, well, actually, we just wanted to make sure the kid gets a good education and then we'll be fine. And in the end, the person dies. He comes back as a dog. And Narada Muni says, okay, do you want to come back now? And he says, well, I've got to guard the house now. I can't leave the house unguarded. Spent my whole last life getting this house together. I can't just leave it unguarded. In this way, the plan always turns into another plan because that's the nature of the material world. It's always changing all the time, endlessly mutable. And the configuration is always coming to the conclusion that it's not convenient right now to surrender, but in the future, we haven't got a problem. We definitely will surrender, but not right now. So that goes on our entire life until we just decide. I was listening to Vaisheshika when he was saying, if you want to achieve anything, write it down. He said, you can only achieve a goal if you have one. So you have to make a plan and head toward that. That's your sadhya, your goal. So the first way to establish a goal is to write it down, what it is you want, and then you can pursue that. But if you don't have a goal, then it means you're living your life aimlessly, going from one up to one down, up and down, up and down, up and down. And it's interesting because Maya makes it seem like, well, I don't want to be so austere and fall on like the devotees. I want to just, kind of take my own time, and just come and go as I please. And you think that that's going to be a better situation. You're going to be more protected that way. But for people that are living outside and practicing Krishna consciousness, they're more at they're in a more dangerous condition because they have less shelter. They're completely at the mercy of their mind and the Adibhotik, Adi-daivik, and Adi-atmic are fully manifesting their influence. And outside of the material world, life is very precarious and very dangerous. At least in the association of devotees, you can get caught. The devotees can say, "You don't seem so enthusiastic. What's the problem?" And that way you can deal with it. A problem shared is a problem halved. And I'm reading a book about mentoring by Devaki Mataji, and she's saying that mentors really are male mentors for males and female mentors for females. That's the way it should be. So it's hard because it's hard for people outside to find shelter and connect with somebody who can mentor them, as opposed to a Shiksha Guru. A Shiksha Guru is a little bit more kind of elevated. Shiksha Guru doesn't deal with the day-to-day stuff so much, the nitty-gritty, whereas a mentor can be there, can get involved in the family and help on a more practical level as well. So anyway, these are materialistic people outside who are making their plans, whatever plans they make, even if they do get free from one disease, they don't get free from disease. There's always something. If it's not that disease that they get, then they get another disease. All you do is displace your karma. So if your karma was you were going to get sick from this, and you take something to avoid getting sick from this, then the karma comes in the form of getting sick from that instead then. So the karma still has to come one way or the other. You can't evade the issue. Any questions or comments? I'll read the translation again. So he's saying, materialist activities are always mixed with miserable conditions. Adi-atmic, Adi-daivik, and Adi-bhotik. Therefore, even if one achieves some success by performing some activity, where's the benefit? He is still subjected to birth, death, old age, and disease, and the reactions of his fruitive activities.
Thank you, brother. Could you just recap what was the phase of reactions?
Misery from the body and the mind, misery from other living entities, and also miseries coming from natural phenomenon like the weather or an earthquake. It's interesting, isn't it? The Vedic culture, although the Western culture prides itself on being scientific, they have a much more accurate analytical way of noting the environment that we're in, and how the senses relate to the elements. Sense of smell comes only from the element of earth. All these different subtle ways of looking at things, Yeah, so they're the three ways that your karma will come. And if you decide that, well, I've just had enough of being around this particular group of devotees, I'm going to go and live on an island. So you live on the island and you take the karma with you, and then the situation in the island, that becomes the vehicle through which you're going to get your karma, You can't avoid the karma unless you perform sacrifice. And then if you perform transcendental activities, then you become free of the miseries. That's why when the spiritual master takes disciples, he takes some of the karma. He suffers to some degree because the disciple is relieved of the burden of karma by taking this. So it's advised that a spiritual master should not accept many disciples, and that he should be very thorough in checking that the disciple is qualified. Some of the spiritual masters won't accept disciples for 7 years. They keep them waiting, and then if they're still interested after 7 years, then they think, okay, he's serious, we'll accept him. And second initiation is considered the actual initiation. There's Harinam initiation, which is to encourage you, And then second initiation is when you get the Gayatri mantra, and then you're considered actually fully initiated. So Prabhupada's saying that he's seen a dying man begging that his life be extended for 4 years to complete his material plans. And of course, the medical man was unsuccessful in expanding the life of the man, who therefore died in great bereavement. So part of the pain of dying is that you have to leave behind all your plans.
It seems like we're going to have any attachment to anything, because that will keep us bound up in material energy. Is that including like devotional activities? You know, if we're attached to the welfare, if someone is attached to the welfare of others, would that also be a binding force?
Well, Rupa Goswami says, accept anything favorable and reject anything unfavorable. So if it's favorable for your Krishna consciousness, if it distracts you, Srila Prabhupada said the first principle was to save yourself. So if it distracts you from doing that, and saving yourself, the morning program, we try to avoid any other consideration, especially japa, other than just chanting. It's the only time that we're really getting to be with Krishna and have some quality time with him. And there may be so many things that are important, but even if a nuclear bomb had just been dropped outside Pepe's fish and chip shop in Les Mahego, and you really wanted to tell somebody, what else can the person do except chant Hare Krishna? And whatever it is, it's not going to be as important as that. So the morning program especially, we invest quality time and energy into that. And then that insulates us from unfavorable and unwanted things that may be there. And then we have a spiritual master. And if not a spiritual master, at least a spiritual authority. And then we check with them, is this okay? Is this not okay? Because we're very used to taking ourselves as the authority. And that's confusing because we're on the mental platform. A mental platform means, mental platform's like this. You've got a little steel ball in the middle of a tray, and the mental platform's like this. And the little steel ball just keeps going from one end of the tray to the other. That's the mental platform. Until you're steady. And then, so therefore you need help and guidance from those who are at least steadier than you. And then they will just direct you in the right way. Rather than taking your chances with your own idea. The ideas are always changing as well. We have one idea of the way things should be. If you're going to make any important decisions, then wait till after the morning program. You may be really convinced you're going to do something from the night before. You sit down to chant your japa, and then you see the whole thing from a totally different perspective. And you decide to change your mind, you know. They say many a war was won in the general's tent. So the real war is how you figure things out, how you align yourself with Krishna consciousness, and then that will manifest on the battlefield outside the tent. But that's, first of all, there has to be a strategy there. Any other questions or comments? It's kind of depressing in one sense, but in the other sense, rather than pretending it's all great, everything's fine. Like Ronald McDonald, he went vegetarian. You know, the guy that dressed up as a clown. They have Ronald McDonald jumping around in these hamburger patches, and they're making them look like they just grow out the ground, you know, to kind of detach the kid from the reality of how they're obtained, you know. And he didn't like it in the end, Ronald McDonald, so he became a vegetarian and quit the job, you know. So material world is just an illusion already, and then on top of the illusion, you put more illusions. You put intoxication on top, so then you become more confused, more illusioned. Then you distract yourself with social media and so many things, and just looking at other people that are in more illusion than you are, and enticing you to enter more into an illusion, you know. And the process of extracting oneself from the material energy is identifying what is real and what isn't real, what is beneficial and what isn't beneficial. But we have to do that with ourselves first. We have to become steady. And that can take a little while. And it may seem like, oh, I'm being a little callous, you know. I'm only thinking about myself. But if you're trying to do an operation on somebody and your own arm is falling off, then you may do the operation, but it'll be quite messy. And you'll have to just say to the person on the operating table, I'm going to have to get this arm sorted out first. So you're just going to have to hang on. And if you're still around when it's ready, I'll come back and do the operation. Otherwise, the operation's a mess, and then after it, you're a mess, and then the whole thing's a waste of time, you know. And that's why patience also has to be there. We have to be a little bit patient with Krishna consciousness. We may think, well, I haven't got much time left. Is there a shortcut? But the shortcut is a long cut, actually. Looking for shortcuts always ends up being longer, making it longer. So we have to be patient, enthusiastic, confident. So in one sense, it's kind of futile. And the sages, he's saying, you know, like a sannyasi is considered socially dead. A sannyasi just gives up on trying to find happiness in society. He's kind of declared that I'm completely convinced there's nothing here for me, you know. So he's socially dead, and so the Python sage is the same. He's realized very, very deeply the misery and futility of material life, and he's become absorbed. And he's just waiting. He reasons ill that say that Vaishnavas die whilst thou art living, still and sound. A Vaishnav dies to live, and whilst living, spreads the holy names around. So for a devotee, he's looking forward to being able to cast off the body and leave this world once and for all. And the Python sage is at that stage where he's like that. He's no longer interested, enticed by the material energy. He sees the futility. So he's learnt the lesson, which is great, isn't it? You know, if you go into college and you've got a test at the end, and in the college, the teacher's able to show you all the answers before the exam. He says, well, when the examination comes up, you'll be asked this question. This is the answer. You'll be asked that question. That's the answer. So that's what it is, really. We have an examination coming up. We're not quite sure when. It's hopefully not today, but it won't be long. And at the examination, these are all the answers. You've got to learn the answers. You've got to practice the answers. And then on the day of an examination, you'll be getting checked out to make sure you've been a good boy and not a naughty boy. And this is one exam that you can't cheat. You can't cheat this exam because they've got a device inside your heart and it's watching everything you're thinking. So even if you're writing the right answer, the little machine in the heart's going, that's not right, you know, that's not true. You're just saying that because you think it's the right thing to say. Any other questions or comments? Even if you achieve some success, you still have to die, grow old. One time the devotees were asking Harikesh Prabhu, we don't know, what's the future going to be? Because In Germany, they went through quite a tough time. The authorities took all their money and closed them down. And the devotees were saying to them, I'm so worried about what the future is going to be, And Hare Krishna says, I know what the future is going to be. You're going to grow old and you're going to die. That's the future. So that is basically what underpins everything else. So we have to get ready for that. Shishikoni Thai Maya Pachashiki Jai. The disease is the real problem, because the disease is what eventually causes the death. You don't die healthy. Everyone dies diseased. It's the disease that kills you. And if you're proactive with your health, then you're looking at ways to find out what you're allergic to, what foods are good for you, what system works best for you, what exercise your body needs. And then you're trying to make the best use of a bad bargain. And trying to become transcendental as well, because at the moment of death, it's the culmination of all fear and pain that we can possibly experience. So during the course of our life, we'll get little bits of fear and little bits of pain to strengthen us up, so that at the final moment, we can boldly step out the body and go home back to Godhead. Srila Prabhupada says he wants to make the journey easy journey back to the spiritual world, actually. And to make it easy, then we have to follow very strictly now. If we make it easy now, then it becomes more difficult later. If we make it difficult now, then it becomes more easy later. You can't have both. You can't have it easy here and then easy later on as well. And Prabhupada says that everyone dies in great bereavement. So it's the most obvious thing, that everything's going to be taken away from you. And then when it is, it's a real surprise, You could see it happen to everybody else around you, but when it happens to you, suddenly it's a big surprise. Material plans for material happiness have no value. Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj was saying, if you want to make Krishna laugh, tell him your plans. So the better, what is actually of value is to find out, well, what's your plan for me, Krishna? What do you want me to do? And try to do that. That's as we start to develop affection for Krishna, then we start putting Krishna before ourselves, and we think, okay, well, what would Krishna like me to do? How would Krishna like me to chant? How would he like me to hear his holy name? How can I do this in a way which will be pleasing to him? If you were hearing somebody chanting your holy name, Rainus, Rainus, how would you like to hear them chanting your name? Rainus, 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 Rainus. Oh, good boy. He has a lot of love for me, that person. I like him. He says my name very sweetly. And because it's easier to please somebody when you're aware that they do exist. If you're trying to please an abstract entity, then it's more difficult to do that. But if we can establish an awareness of the existence of God, of Krishna, and that we have a personal relationship with him, then it's easier to do it in a way which we want to please the person. Okay, so I guess we'll finish there. Anyone, any stories of,
Hare Krishna, thank you.
Hare.
Thank you for the class. Oh, I don't have comment, but just like, so we just have to find out about this. Any person we have to want to please, what he likes, and we do that through reading and association. Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think there was also a story about, not maybe pastime of Prabhupada. He wanted to water, but someone thought, well, maybe warm milk is going to be better. But then the Prabhupada said, well, this is not how you please me. You please me by, bringing something I would like to,
Yeah.
So I guess it's the same way as like, I guess when we chant, like, we think, oh, this is how maybe Krishna likes us to chant, but maybe it's not true. Yeah.
Yeah, how does Krishna like his name chanted? With humility and with... Bhaktivinoda Thakur is saying that when you're chanting, if you can remember that you are a Krishna's servant whilst you're chanting. And Shri Ramaj we had a Zoom call yesterday with Shri Ramaj, and he was saying the main thing is to hear, and if we're trying to do smaranam at the same time, and it's distracting us from hearing, then just go back to hearing. So that's the initial. And the very initial one, even before hearing, is actually just chanting, is actually just making the movements with your tongue and the sound with your mouth. That's the first stage, just doing that, concentrating on that. And then hearing, Kana Kroda Kadambani, Katayate, Kanabudebhya Spriham. Then Krishna will enter the holes of the ears, and then Cheta Prangana Sangani, Vijayati Sabendriyanam Kritam. Then he'll enter the ears and conquer all the senses. The mind will become inert when he dances in the courtyard of the heart. So 3 levels of absorption, focusing first of all on the holy name dancing in our mouth, entering our ear, and then dancing in the courtyard of the heart. But if you decide you're going to bypass the mouth and the ear and go straight into the heart, so you start chanting and you're trying to think of Leela, and there's so much other stuff in the heart that's going to distract, and it'll be incongruous to try to do that. So the very first thing is purify through the tongue, the ear, and then we can go into the heart. So Krishna is displeased if it's called niyamagraha, which means to go ahead of what your station is, or to be lazy and not step up to the next stage that you're supposed to achieve in your Krishna consciousness, niyamagraha. So it's finding out exactly where we're at and what is precisely the very next step we need to take. Whereas the sahaja, he sees, I'm here right now, but I've got this very inflated idea of where I think I should be. So there's like a conflict going on between where he actually is and where he's trying to establish himself and be known in the community as being, I am a big devotee, I am up here, I'm so advanced, which is beyond what his level is. Or he's been around for a long time and he just keeps doing the daily routine. He doesn't want to go beyond, outside his comfort zone. He just does this. He managed to do that, and he doesn't think, well, maybe I should be developing into the next stage, So if we can find out where we are, where we're at, and understand what the next step is, that's what pleases Krishna, that we're taking a step toward him, not trying to do something unrealistic or impractical, I'm here right now, but I'm going to take 1,000 steps towards Krishna. Krishna's not pleased by that, because it's not sustainable, it's not real. We have to be realistic about where we are, and then look at what it is. What things do we get caught out by, and start to reduce them, so that when you come back 5 years from now, you're not still making the same mistakes. Maybe you're making different mistakes, but not the same ones. You're making more advanced mistakes. but not the same. Otherwise, if you're going around in circles, then after a while, the circle will start to spiral down. If we're going around the circles, we want the circles to be going up, doing regular routine things, and everything becoming more refined, more purified, and more aware. Then, and the intention is to please Krishna. That's what bhakti is founded on. That we're feeling some affection, some attraction, and we like the idea more and more. It's becoming more natural as that. I'm here to please Krishna, please his devotees. Jai. Iskon Guru Govinda ki, Shil Prabhupada ki, Nitai Gaura Premanandi, Haribo. All of you.